They're doing construction on our building, so let's see if we can make it through this video without a complete crash out. Hi, hello everyone, my name is Jarrett, and I don't stay ready, I get ready. We're talking about Drag Race España Season 5, Episode 2. I mentioned before that my content schedule is a little tight, so I'm not going to be going as deep as I normally do. There's jokes in there I'm sure you could find. But we will go as deep as possible. There are a lot of things that I'm currently reviewing, so the queens of this cast are still trying to get stuck up here. I'm slowly remembering everyone's names and faces, but a few of them are just not sticking. And I can't help but feel like that has a lot to do with just their edit on the show. Some of them are not giving a lot. Some of them are giving way too much. Last week was a great time. I totally love that it was a celebratory top 2 and that no one went home. Based on some of the subtitle issues I had last week, I did not understand this heart twist, but now I understand it, or at least have a better idea of, because the subtitles were working correctly, thank God. The mini challenge is one of those where they have to have one person as the body and the other person as the arms. They've done a lot of variants of this particular mini challenge across the franchises, and it's always really funny, but they are given a way out that they can choose to do a serious route if they want to. I think it's crazy town to try and take this type of challenge seriously, because when you have someone else's arms as yours, the only direction is comedy. But I do appreciate that they did have the creative freedom to explore something a little more serious if that's the direction they wanted to go. 10-minute drag is also sinister, but I feel like everyone understood the assignment and tried to just be funny with it. Ferran and La Escándalo looking like Lisa Rinna was bananas, but I was here for it. The inclusion of the ice cream was so freaking messy, but it did make this hilarious. And the two of them are the winners. I think the room overall was funny, but I do think Escándalo and Ferran were the standouts. And as the winners of the mini challenge, they get an advantage in the maxi, which is an acting challenge. That was a little wild. They get to assign the roles that each one of the queens will perform. Not everyone was happy with what they got, but I think the room overall was okay with what they received. Acting challenges are always hit and miss with Drag Race because half the time the writers are really invested in the success of the show and in the queens not looking stupid, and then other times not so much. I feel like every acting challenge I've watched on Drag Race España has always seemed like they really genuinely care about the group that they've got, no matter who is gonna be there, no matter what roles they're gonna play. Everything is written with intelligence, and each one of the roles I think are equal in their opportunity to be funny and bombastic and stand out. And I love, more importantly, that they actually had a practical set and none of this CGI BS that the mainline season always does. Are you telling me that Drag Race España has a big enough budget to provide them a physical set, but Drag Race US, with all of that money that they are raking in, just gives them one green screen? Mama. And I love how involved the hobbies are in making sure that each one of the queens feel supported and uplifted, even in their moments of having a hard time. They're right there in the trenches with them when they're struggling, and we're there especially for Satine when she was kind of locking up and was unable to get out of her own way. That didn't save her from the bottom 3, but it did help her in the challenge to deliver a good product. And where I think the US seasons especially love when a queen flubs so bad, because then they can give them that snake rattle sound and they can make them look stupid and embarrass them so that their main player looks exponentially better. Exponentially! I get the impression that the hobbies in Drag Race España want their cast to have the best experience possible and provide the best product to the audience. They don't want us watching drag, and I love that. Nyx impressed me so much. I was not expecting her to deliver the level of professionalism that she had. We'll talk about the challenge in just a minute. And Crystal was on the struggle bus. As soon as she got the conversation in the workroom talking about her partner and bringing out the RuPaul doll, talking about her relationship, I'm like, oh, this bitch is cooked. She's out of here. And at the top of the episode, they had already teed up the tease of a double elimination. So all of these things lined up, I'm like, oh, it's cooked for my girl. Thankfully that wasn't the case, but we'll get there. On the runway, Supreme was mothering so hard in this sapphire blue number. I love the rooted hair with that pink. Anna is always giving me like a high fashion doll. Calvo was serving sex on a stick. And as usual, Ambrosi was there. And the runway was Javi Vision, which as I gathered was a tribute to the Javi's productions they've created over the years. So many characters that have shown up on what they've created. I love that they showed the side by side so that we as an international audience and even those who may not be as familiar internally of España get a better idea of what the original inspiration was supposed to be. From where I was sitting, it definitely looked like the queens were encouraged to explore their own POV and not necessarily be landlocked into a one-for-one of the costume that they were originally trying to pull inspiration from. Eva Harrington had one of my favorite looks. I love that green traditional dress, and then when it tore away, I thought that was a fun and interesting interpretation on that costume. Satine with the comedy teeth was giving me everything I needed with this glamorous high fashion garment. She received an ova. She's doing the thing. I loved Alexandra as La Veneno, and I didn't realize that when Jessica Wilde did Coconuts in All Stars 8, that was a La Veneno look. So I'm gonna have to file that away for when we get there in our Drag Race podcast. And I thought she really nailed the look overall until the wig fell off. To quote a famous woman from season 13, "You're not doing the two-step, staple that to your head." I'm kind of obsessed with how weird Margarita is. And Laka Udia low-key had one of my favorite looks of the entire night. That soft white showgirl look with those big plumes of feathers, cute 60s hair, mug and that tiny little stash. Like, Laka is just gender, and I think I'm laminating my stand card tonight because her performance in the challenge was one of my favorites. I thought she absolutely understood the role that they were playing. The characterization was spot on. I love their vocalization and the way they just have this energy that radiates IDGAF. I was obsessed with Nyx in the challenge, constantly cheating to the camera, cutting faces, breaking the fourth wall. And then I thought Margarita was incredibly convincing in her role. That moment where she was kissing on the rosary and then put the whole thing in her mouth. I laughed so hard. I think she nailed the physical comedy and made that character her own in a special way that not everyone else did. I do feel like everyone in their respective roles were super solid. The only one who was not as firm in who they were and what they were supposed to do was Crystal Forever. I don't think she was necessarily hard to watch, but she wasn't easy to watch either. And I will say that I enjoyed everything up until the wedding scene, where I think it got a little manic and frantic, a little unfocused, lost the plot, and it was sort of like free-for-all craziness that I had a hard time connecting with. It seemed like the script was built in a way that it was supposed to crescendo, but it was all like overstimulating a smidge. The overstimulation also could have come from all this noise that's happening. End me. Margarita is called as the winner, which I think was completely deserved. And the bottom two, sadly, are Crystal Forever and Nori. And Nori was already saying in Untucked that she was thinking about just packing up and getting ready to go, so I think she put herself in the mindset that she was not going to survive this. And in the lip sync Zora, Nori did not know one singular word. She looked completely defeated, and I kind of just wish that she had just pulled a Dovima and just stood there since she didn't know a word. Crystal was doing way too much and also didn't know a lot of the words. And with both of them having the absolute wrong kind of energy, Nori giving quite literally nothing and Crystal giving quite literally way too much, flipping at the wrong points and dipping at the wrong points, I was sure that this was going to be a double because they queued it up at the beginning of the episode that there could be a double elimination. And that look that the judges gave to both of them, with all of the main panelists looking quite honestly like me right now, disassociating in the corner. Supreme ripped them apart, which honestly they 100% deserved, and said this cannot happen again. Crystal is called as a safe one, meaning that Nori is out. And next week is a design challenge, and we will actually find out if there will be any payoff to this heart twist. I would absolutely gag if we got through an entire season where this twist meant nothing and did not benefit a soul in the competition. But we shall see. What were your thoughts on this episode? Who are you rooting for so far? I am punched in for Laka, and I think that she is my diva right now. And honestly, I was very impressed with Nyx, and I think there's something about her that looks like Rebecca Black when she's out of drag, and so I think I'm like especially here for that. But who y'all rooting for? Let me know in the comments below. I will be covering Dragula probably tomorrow or the next day, so keep your eyes peeled for that. And hopefully this is done, because I can't handle another day of this. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see y'all on the flip